Hey guys, Zal here. Today I kind of want to talk about why I became a chemistry major in the first place, because a lot of people, they have different reasons for being a STEM major, and I think it's interesting to throw mine out there. And after that, I want to talk about a couple of my actual regrets in being a chemistry major. A lot of people kind of want to hear the bad parts about chemistry before they maybe pick this as their major or keep going with it as their major. And I want to give my regrets. And honestly, there's not a lot with it, but there's a couple that might be notable and important to you. So I want to throw them out there after I discuss why I actually became a chemistry major. So funnily enough, I actually didn't start out thinking I wanted to be a chemistry major. In high school, I really was interested in IR and Gov, and I thought I was going to go be an IR or a Gov major. And it wasn't until maybe the first couple weeks of summer break, that summer before college, that I decided I wanted to go into science, because I had also always loved science and always been super interested in it. I just had so many different fields I was interested in, and I had to pick between them for college. I went in and I actually took a bio and chemistry class freshman year because I was still trying to decide between what classes I should take and what major within science I should do. And in that year is when I really fell in love with chemistry for a couple of reasons. The first main one is I found that chemistry was by far the universal science. In bio, you cover biological systems and life, and that's a huge field in and of itself. You have evolution, you can learn about plants, animals, DNA, genetics, etc. But it did all feel almost constrained to me. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, there was physics, which I actually still really like both physics and bio, but when I looked at physics, it also felt a bit constrained. It was very mathematical, and it felt like a certain type of problem solving and situations that you're put in with these complex mathematical models. And I know there's a lot to physics and bio, and there's a lot more than what I'm just mentioning, but that's kind of the gist of both of those majors. And with chemistry, it's right in the middle of it. In my chemistry major, I've had to learn about bio and take classes like biochemistry, and I've also had to do physics classes and take PChem, which is a quantum mechanics course and thermodynamics course, and I feel like I get a lot more variety and I get to learn about the fundamentals of both fields, which I find really interesting because I have such broad interests and, learning about everything there is to do in science. And if you're really into science as a whole, I think the chemistry major might be the best STEM major for you because you get to learn about biology and physics and chemistry, and that's why it's the universal science. I also picked chemistry off a bit of the logic of the success that comes with STEM fields, and if you're a STEM major, you're going to get a great job, etc. And I do want to give a warning about that because that's very common in culture, and STEM fields are great, and you can get great jobs in STEM fields. The issue is with all the hard sciences, be it physics, bio, or chem, most of the time, that requires a grad degree to get a really high-paying job, and with just a bachelor's, because these fields are so big, you're going to end up with a small lab tech, low-paying job for the most part. Of course, there are exceptions, and once you get actual work experience, you can get great jobs with just a bachelor's, like paying pretty well. So don't worry about that, but as an intro job, the hard sciences can be a bit rough for a lot of people. And that's kind of my warning about the chemistry major. Don't expect to be like those computer science kids who graduate and get a six-figure job right out of college, because with a bachelor's in any of the hard sciences, that's just not going to happen. You can work up to that after a couple years of experience, but out the gate, you're not going to get paid a lot. I also picked chemistry because I really like working hands-on with stuff and seeing stuff happen. And with a lot of the other hard sciences, and even some of the not hard sciences, you don't really get to do that. But the lab work you do in chemistry is second to none. You are just mixing dangerous chemicals and making new compounds all day. And lab can be really fun because of that. And it is. I was right on that. Lab is really fun, and I think higher level chemistry labs have the most fun of any of the majors because you get to work with such a wide breadth of actual objects and you get to see cool reactions and fire and stuff melting, etc. So I'd say of the majors, I guess bio also has some hands-on stuff, but the cool hands-on stuff you do in chemistry is awesome. You will just be able to make fire or make stuff dissolve and disappear in an instant. And I really think chemistry is the closest to being a wizard you can get in a major in college. I also just think the practical applications of the chemistry major are great. So if you become a chemistry major, you can go into biological fields, you can go into more physical oriented fields, engineering fields, etc. And it's a great launching point. Even if you want to go to grad school, chemistry majors can basically get a STEM degree in grad school in anything. There are plenty of chemistry majors who go get engineering, material science, bio type grad degrees, or even like quantum physics grad degrees, because you do have that connection to every single field. Now, a bit of my regrets for the chemistry major, which is something people always like to hear, because they kind of want the warning before they pick a chemistry major. Maybe these regrets are too bad and they're not going to pick the chemistry major. I'd say my biggest one with chemistry, as mentioned earlier, is probably the job market, and that's even not a huge one because chemistry can be applied to so many fields. You can totally get jobs with an undergrad as just a bachelor's and, you know, in a bunch of little fields. So I'm not too worried about that. Maybe that'll change in the future. The next regret is chemistry is really difficult. And I know people say that all the time. And people assume chemistry is difficult. But it's a lot more than that. Because you do have your basic chem classes, your gen chems and all. And those aren't too hard. A lot of the stuff you do is algebra. But you get to OChem. The spatial thinking in OChem isn't like any other class. And that can make it really difficult for a lot of people. And on top of that, you have to take a lot of prerequisites in your first couple years in college. You have to take a bunch of physics classes and math classes, etc., for when you get to your P-Chem classes and have to do your thermo and quantum mech. And so all of this adds together, and you have to do your O-Chems, and then you get into your hard chemistry classes like your P-Chems, higher level O-Chems, inorganics and all. And on their own, they're hard but doable, but you have to keep in mind you have to take a lot of other classes each semester. You have to take any general education requirements or other chemistry electives, and it can just get really difficult keeping track of it all and leaving time to study for every class or do any readings, practice, etc. And on top of that, you don't want to drown in just schoolwork through your whole college career. So you're going to be doing clubs and any extracurricular activities, which I really highly recommend you do, and maybe even throw research into there. And all of that can add up to an insanely busy schedule as a chemistry major. And I love the chemistry major, and I wouldn't trade that. But there are some days where the work just piles up, and it can be a lot. And I do want to give a fair warning about how much work there is in a chemistry major.